It was so humid yesterday. I couldn't take it. It was like the air was thick soup. But people get excited about Memorial Day. They get excited about that long weekend so they can do all the stuff they want to do and surf. And I haven't surfed in a very long time. It's not something I do frequently, or ever. I never surf. So that's not something we have to go into. Steve Weiner here from GetRubix.com, and today we're going to talking about updating to Windows 11 using Intune for your fleet and why it's not as painful as Windows updates were in the past. You could be on that surfboard, waves come in, whatever, you fall right off, that's the end of it. So, no thank you.
Get Rubix, solving for the modern workplace.
I have a lot of conversations with folks around updating to Windows 11 for their Windows 10 devices and the best way to go about it. And I think the interesting thing for me is how many folks are under the impression that this is a very heavy, very big, they call it a migration. And, all the pressure they feel about it. And not to say you shouldn't have caution when moving to a new OS. But one thing I keep thinking about is, how close Windows 11 was to just being Windows as a service, right? Like even Windows 10, in my opinion, there shouldn't have even been a number, but it is what it is. However, having said that, this is not a big shift, especially if you're managing your devices with Intune. Now, obviously, if you're still in that traditional method of deploying images and, everything's domain joined and group policy and things like that, sure, you have to think about deploying through WSUS or you have to build a whole new image. But I really want to highlight the efficiency and the kind of the frictionless nature of getting your fleet onto Windows 11 through Intune and what you should take into consideration. And I kind of just want to downplay it, right? I get so many folks saying to me, well, what are organizations going to do to prepare? And what do we do with this? And to be completely honest with you, and I've said this before in different talks and things, it's Windows 11 is a little rounder, I guess. We can shift that start menu back to the left. We've done a video on that. Put the right click menu there. I mean, I don't know how much difficulty users are going to have. Obviously, users are always going to notice change, and it'll be a factor. But, overall, I think if we look at this more like a kind of a robust feature update, that's going to give us the framework for our experience. So let's go take a look at, I have some Windows 10 machines I put back in Intune, and let's talk about updating, right? And see if we can get through it here. All right, so I want to show two different experiences, right, with these Windows 10 machines. So these machines here are being managed through my broad deployment ring for Windows Update. Now, what this ring kind of dictates is that, and I'll show you here, this is just our standard quality deferral update. You can see we're not doing any pre-releases. We're also not upgrading to Windows 11 here. So traditionally, these have been on the Windows 10 feature update. And if we back up for a second here, I can show you this policy feature update for Windows 10. This is what I've been using to kind of push the production update. Windows 10 21H2. I had one for 22H2. In fact, this one is actually getting close to support ending, which is nice that they assign this. But what I want to do now is I want to create two different Windows 11 update profiles, and that's really all we have to do. In fact, if we're concerned about our hardware, we can go to reports, right? If we're using endpoint analytics, and we can kind of take a look at our devices. If you look at the work from anywhere report here, so there is some Windows 11 readiness reporting that will tell you if the device is eligible or if there's an issue. Now here, I don't have any 10 devices. I mean, I have these in here, but they haven't been in here long enough. But typically this will tell you if a device is ready for upgrade, and if it's not, what the reason is. And you can kind of get that from here how many devices you have on Windows 10 or an older version, and then how many devices meet the hardware requirements. And if they don't, you can kind of see the scores here. Like, what's the blocker? Is it the TPM? Is it the firmware? Is it the storage, or a bunch of other factors? So this is really nice that this is built in. So I'd like to get some older hardware in here to kind of show some of this, so we can do that at some point. But in the meantime, this is going to apply to all your hardware that is applicable for Windows 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 Windows feature update policies. All right, so this will be my required update. Windows 11 required update. This is going to push. Now you can see here, I'm going to choose my target. I want 23H2, but I have the option to make this available to users as a required or an optional update, and we'll talk about the user experience in a minute for that. I can also check this box, which is nice. So if the device isn't eligible to run Windows 11, it'll install the latest 10 feature update. Now that's, I should, based on the reports we just looked at, I should know what's compatible and what's not, but this is just a nice fail-safe. And then as far as my rollout, for larger fleets, you have the option to make this available immediately. You can kind of roll this out gradually, or even pick a specific date you want to make this feature update available, but I'm going to do mine as soon as possible. So I have 2 different groups for my devices. I have an update required group, and we're going to go ahead and choose that for the required policy, and we'll let that deploy. And I'm also going to make a Windows 11 available policy available. So this will be the same build, but I'm going to make it as optional, so users don't have to. And I'm going to actually leave this off here because I don't necessarily want it on this one. Okay, so I'm going to select my available update group. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let my devices sync, and then we'll check on the user experience. Okay, so we'll start by looking at the required device, and you can see that I got the notification, and if I go to my updates, we can see Windows 11 version 23H2 has a pending restart, and it's just kind of adhering to my Windows Update Ring behavior policy. So it's telling me I have until May 31st, telling me I have about 4 days until I have to do it. So you can see if I go to pick time, I could schedule that as late as Friday, or I could just, do it now. Okay, so now back on the available device. It could take some time, but I'm just going to show you the user would go to Update and Security, and click Check for Updates, and that should check in. Obviously, you're going to want to communicate with end users. Yeah, it didn't come down yet, but we'll keep poking at it. But of course, once it's available, they'll be able to select it from here and upgrade on their own. You can see, because we're targeting groups, this makes testing very easy. So I'm often asked how to roll out Windows 11, but you would roll it out like any other update. You can even be more specific like I did and put certain devices in certain groups and just start there, right? If you're still concerned about deploying apps and policies and testing them for compatibility, just do it on a small group, right? It's, I can't downplay enough kind of the transition and how this is very different from previous iterations of Windows, right? I don't see it as anything more than a feature update, right? It's a little more robust, of course, but that's, I think, the approach we want to take. So luckily they give us the flexibility. Like I said, that's a newer feature, having the optional one. So give it some time if it's not in your tenant. And then in future videos, we'll talk about some user experience side stuff. We'll be seeing you.